Hello, my name is Joel Arriaga. This is my partner.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Casares, and today we're going to share some information regarding quality education, both around the world and in the United States, and several organizations that are working to increase the quality of education. So first, we want to discuss the UN Sustainable Development Goals and what they are. The development goals were created in 2015 in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It's a list of 17 goals that are aimed as a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people on the planet now and into the future. So as you can see, lots of these goals cover issues regarding social justice, economic issues, and environmental issues. We decided to choose goal 4, which is quality education. And the UN defines this as the effort to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And they gauge goal 4 based on specific indicators, including educational gender equality, so ensuring that boys and girls have equal access to education, effective early childhood development that will help prepare students for school. They'd like to improve the quality of teaching staff, increase the number of scholarships available to students, grow the rate of literacy in children and adults. This includes technical school, vocational skills, university, and entrepreneurship skills, so that adults can increase their quality of life. And that also includes the most vulnerable people, including disabled individuals, indigenous peoples, and children or adults living in dangerous situations. The UN also has an indicator to improve school facilities, and they would also like to spread education about equality and sustainability and healthy lifestyles. So there are many problems around the world and in the United States regarding quality education. According to the UN, 103 million children worldwide lack basic literacy skills. 57 million elementary age children don't attend school at all. And in developing countries, 1 in 4 girls does not attend school. In 2018, there were nearly 250 million children out of school around the world. Some of the countries with the worst education systems include Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Libya, and the Central African Republic, although this is just a handful of the list of about 20 or 25 countries that have the worst ranked education systems.
So here we have a graph of all the countries just on education. Gray areas are countries that do not have no type of education system implemented. The dark purple has a score of 975. Light purple has a total score of 1,104. Purple has a total score of 1,100 or more. The red section is a total score of 1,500 or more, and the dark red as well, 1,500 or more. These scores consist of reading, math, and science curriculum exams from students and educators throughout the world.
So there are also several problems faced here in America regarding education. According to a study conducted by the National Bureau of Economic Research, economic spending plays a very large role in the education system here in America. They found that a 10% increase in per pupil spending each year for all 12 years of public school leads to 0.27 more completed years of education, 7.25% higher wages, and a 3.67 percentage point reduction in the annual incidence of adult poverty. Effects are much more pronounced for children from low-income families. So as we can see, districts with more per pupil spending will help raise these statistics, and the students have better outcomes as adults. The United Nations also notes that children from the poorest households are up to 4 times more likely to be out of school than those from the richest households. Disparities between rural and urban areas also remain high. Also in the US, we see that racial disparity is a large problem. Just one example from US World and News Report found that Black Americans are suspended and expelled at 3 times the rate of white students. They make up 16% of school enrollment, but they only account for 32% of students who receive in-school suspensions, 42% of students who receive multiple out-of-school suspensions, and 34% of students who are expelled. So despite their 16% makeup of total enrollment, they account for much higher percentages of suspensions and expulsions. So there are many causes for these problems, and there are definitely certain factors that affect educational quality in many different countries. According to the United Nations, progress has also been tough in some developing regions due to high levels of poverty, armed conflicts, and other emergencies, so like natural disasters. In Western Asia and North Africa, ongoing armed conflict has seen an increase in the number of children out of school. If you think about this picture of a child soldier here, situations like this obviously remove a child from an environment when they can receive a quality education. So lots of the quality issues around quality education are sort of commingled with human rights issues. Other factors that can put children at risk of receiving poor education or no education are the unemployment of their parents, illness, and the illiteracy of their parents. And these factors lower the average worldwide dropout rate to 2 years of age. Financial deficit is another huge part of the problem in developing countries, as well as in the United States, as we discussed earlier. The funds that international communities provide are not enough to establish a solid educational system for all their children. And this lack of financial resources can also affect the quality of teaching, can lead to oversized classrooms where teachers cannot provide individual teaching to students who need the most help.
So COVID-19 happened in 2020, which affected the education system a lot. According to UN, 90% of children were out of school due to the closure of schools. At least 500 million students lacked access to remote learning. These students lack resources such as devices, home internet, rental devices, hotspots that provided the school. They also lacked the supervision and discipline by parents while they were home. 1.5 billion children were not attending school and were then less active. They move less during the day. This is not good for the children's health. As we've seen in the US, there's a high rate of obesity. Only 65% of schools globally have the required hand washing stations that are needed to help fight COVID-19. So here we're going to talk about several companies that are trying to help reduce the issue of quality education, and some companies that were affected by COVID-19, but they are trying their best and implementing precautions and regulations to strive and help educators and students. The first company we're going to talk about is Panda. This company is actually based out of Libya. The business model for Panda is connecting teachers and parents to follow up on the children's education. They were impacted by COVID-19. However, they reacted and created an online course for teachers and students to keep them engaged. The online course they created consisted of 40 workshops and 65 training sessions. Panda created a technology curriculum for educators that would help them understand and learn how online learning works. This curriculum is also available for parents and students that need the help. They are hoping to increase parents' understanding of their child's learning and how important it is for them, for their child to get educated. The second company we're going to talk about is Better World Books. Better World Books is a for-profit company that collects used books through donations and from libraries to save them from being thrown away. They strive to provide everyone around the world with books. The individual that purchases used books helps fund partner organizations that donate books and promote literacy in developing countries. Better World Books also created a Dropbox program, which lets individuals donate books instead of sending them to a landfill. Better World Books was impacted by COVID-19. However, they created precautions for their staff and customer safety. They transitioned to online meetings and interviews, postponed public gatherings. They implemented cleaning protocols, including shared areas, tools, machinery, and wearing disposable gloves. They also cleaned every book that was being shipped out. So the third company is Teach for America. Teach for America is a nonprofit company that is trying to give every child excellent and equitable education. They focus on expanding education for low-income students. Teach for America contracts with young teachers and places them in unserved and low-income schools for a minimum of 2 years. According to Teach for America, there are roughly 16 million children that live below the poverty line in the US alone. Most of these children are part of the minority group. 1.3 million students are enrolled in a high school and end up dropping out. These students are actually coming from low-income families. The teacher placed by Teach for America helps change the education system from the inside. During the pandemic, Teach for America was actually affected, but they also created a COVID-19 education resource hub. This resource hub has various resources that can help the teacher and the student engage in learning. The resource hub has workshops, online learning centers, and tips to stay engaged throughout the day.
So the fourth organization we're going to talk about today is California Teaching Fellows Foundation. CTFF is actually a local foundation based here in the Valley. Their headquarters are actually on the Fresno State campus. And the organization aims to inspire the next generation of students, leaders, and educators to have a passion for teaching. And they usually employ undergraduate students to help them obtain experience. These students are usually people who desire to become educators in the future. So for example, my husband has been working for California Teaching Fellows for the last several years, and he hopes to become a high school English teacher in the future. And he really loves working at CTFF because they have given him a lot of experience on how to handle a classroom, and he really loves working with the students in his after-school program. And so the requirements to apply to be a tutor are to be enrolled in a community college or university. The college student must maintain a 3.0 GPA or higher, and they have to participate in monthly professional development. And CTFF has several programs that benefit the community and students. Their main programs would be after-school programs and summer learning programs. They usually have some tutoring sessions after school, and then some fun games and outdoor time. During the pandemic, they have definitely shifted. For most of 2020, they were doing online after school programs, which was a little bit difficult, but now that they're starting to get back in person, they're seeing an uptick again in attendance. You can also become an AmeriCorps Fellow and get scholarships through Teaching Fellows. So what is the future of quality education around the world, particularly given the COVID-19 crisis? Unfortunately, even before the COVID-19 pandemic, progress on quality education was still a little bit too slow. And about 200 million children were predicted to remain out of school in 2030, according to the UN. And obviously, COVID has only worsened this problem. Due to the pandemic, like we mentioned earlier, almost all students were out of school entirely, and many students lacked access to remote learning. So it really threw a wrench in a lot of the quality education plans that the United Nations had. But obviously, the UN is going to continue to strive towards goal 4, even past the 2030 goal. And of course, organizations like PANDA, Better World Books, Teach for America, and California Teaching Fellows are all striving to make quality education available to everyone. And we just like to end on this note that quality education means ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all, which all 4 of these businesses do, both around the world and here in America. Thank you.
Thank you.